It's like this triple whammy of things that I have gone through that I feel like in the midst of my miscarriages and postpartums and pregnancies and all of these things just kind of got lost. And it's like I'm wondering why I'm feeling so overwhelmed and so stressed out. And it's because I've lost my entire identity.
You gotta get on my level.
Hey, I'm Leah Van Dale, and this is Hot Mom Shit, the podcast where we live in the and. We're going to laugh, we're probably going to cry, and I'm definitely going to say something I probably shouldn't. If you've ever looked like a babe on the outside while completely losing your shit on the inside, you are exactly where you need to be. Welcome to episode 2 of Hot Mom Shit. You guys, we made it to another episode, and I am so grateful that you're here. I'm so excited to just, dive into all of this shit. And as you can tell, I swear a lot, so I apologize. Actually, I don't apologize because I like to swear. I never swore in my life until I started working for WWE. And then I realized like every other word out of my mouth after a year of working there was a profanity. And that's just what you did. And it stuck with me. And here I am. And speaking of WWE, that's kind of what I want to talk about today. Not necessarily my role there, but I want to talk about something that I think a lot of moms can relate to, and that is identity, right? Your identity as a mom. Once you become a mom, you should just be grateful you're a mom and this is what you wanted. You wanted to have kids. Be a mom, be grateful, don't complain. And I feel like that's something I've been really struggling with, especially postpartum number 2. I now have a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old, which is crazy. Not every episode is going to be deep like this, but I just felt like it's something that I really wanted to touch on because I know if I'm dealing with it, I'm thinking about it, that other women have to be too. And I know I mentioned on the first episode that Matt and I go to couples therapy, and we're talking about something in one of our sessions last week that really stuck with me. And it's gotten me thinking a lot lately about my identity and my role outside of motherhood. And our therapist said something to me like, we kind of glazed over the fact that, because we talk about a lot about me in postpartum and what my role is as a mom and like trying to find little pockets in my life where I can figure out who Leah is, right? And who I am outside of just the role as being a mom. And I want to be clear, if you love being a mom and being a mom is enough for you, like I'm not shaming you on that. I think sometimes it's like, if you're a mom, you should just focus on that and be grateful that, you have your kids and you have to give up your career and everything is for your kids. And like people are shamed for that. If that's what you want to do and that's what fills your cup, that's amazing and do that. Because then on the contrary, there's some women who love being a mom, but then they also love their career. And then they're shamed for that. Like, oh, you're just a career woman focused on that. And like, you don't even care about your kids. And it's like, why can't you be both? I feel like you should be able to have both. And whatever it is that fills your cup, do that. But I truthfully am trying to figure out what fills my cup. And my therapist said something like, we glazed over the fact that in the last 3 years, you not only have become a mother to 2 kids, so my identity has completely shifted to being a mom now of 2. No longer have my career, no longer have my financial freedom that I used to have. It's like this triple whammy of things that I have gone through that I feel like in the midst of my miscarriages and postpartums and pregnancies and all of these things just kind of got lost. And it's like I'm wondering why I'm feeling so overwhelmed and so stressed out. And it's because I've lost my entire identity. I was under contract with WWE for over 12 years, right? So my identity for so long was Carmella. I was Carmella. Everyone knew me as Carmella. I was traveling the world on TV, living this life that, from the outside in looked great. And then it got to a point where it no longer fulfilled me. I felt like, the role I was in, I was constantly having to prove my worth. And I didn't want to do that anymore. I knew what I brought to the table. I just didn't have it in me, the energy to prove that I was good enough. Something changed. And I was like, I feel like this is the universe's way of saying like, it's time for me to focus on becoming a mom. At that point, I had been married for a little over a year. I was like, okay, I don't want to continue to try to be somewhere that I'm no longer seen as valuable. I want to do something that's actually real and concrete. I want to be a mom. Like I have control over that. I don't want to be somewhere I'm no longer valued. So that's kind of where it came to be to try to start having a baby. And we tried, boom, first try, got pregnant. I was like, this is amazing. I'm meant to have a baby. Had a miscarriage. Tried again, boom, second time we tried, got pregnant. This is amazing this time. Okay, great. And then I ended up having an ectopic pregnancy. And it was really such a muddy situation because my career, I couldn't just like call in sick. Like obviously when I first got pregnant, I called them, told them, they were very supportive, congratulatory. Okay, we'll see you in 9 months sort of thing. Like not really, because obviously I need to recover. But it was great. And then to tell them like, oh, I'm not pregnant anymore. And they're like, okay, well take some time and we'll talk about you coming back to work. And then it happened again. And so it was just really such a hard situation. Then, okay, I couldn't try for at least 3 months after having my ectopic pregnancy. So I had to go back to work. Naturally, I'm under contract with them. I need to go back to work. I can't just like sit at home and wait to get pregnant again. So it was such a weird time, especially identity wise, because I was in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to be a mom. And now it's like, oh, I have to go back to this place where I don't feel valued. I don't feel appreciated. But again, it's an obligation. I'm under contract. I have to go back. So I went back to work and knew I was going to end up trying again because I wanted to become a mom. And as soon as we were able to got the green light to try again, got pregnant. And luckily this one stuck, had a healthy pregnancy, and then had my son. And it was such an awesome time because I knew, again, I was still under contract with WWE. I knew in my mind before having Dimitri, I wanted to go back to work, right? I was going to go back. I didn't think I wanted to bring him on the road, but I knew I wanted to go back to work. But then, of course, once you have the babies right here in front of you, I'm like, I can't imagine going back to work. I want to be home with him. I don't want to miss his first steps or his first words. And it was really just such a confusing time because I felt like I was constantly on edge, waiting to see if I was going to get that call, like, hey, we need you back at work. And I was in limbo. I really didn't have a time where I felt, okay, cool, I'm comfortable being at home, being a mom. I missed my career, but like it was all in limbo. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then my contract expired and it was like the finality of it. I was like, okay, I'm done. It was the universe's way of, telling me I wasn't meant to go back to work. Cool. And now because of that, I had gotten pregnant with Ram, my second son. And I felt like it was all meant to be until, I'm like halfway through my pregnancy and I'm thinking like, okay, like I no longer have my paycheck. I had a weekly paycheck that I got every week. And obviously I don't really live this extravagant, frivolous lifestyle. I'm very good, I think, with saving my money and being good with my money. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss having that money, that guaranteed money coming in every week. And having any sort of identity outside of being Dimitri's mom and being pregnant. And it was just sort of like, that was my life. I will say, not having to worry about getting that call, like, hey, we need you here. We need you in South Dakota tomorrow. Like I didn't have that stressor of the unknown because again, it was decided for me. And I just knew it was sort of the universe's way of telling me that this is where my life was supposed to go. And then fast forward to having Bram and postpartum, it's all just really like caught up to me, I think. The transition from knowing who I was and being this on-screen character. I'm a performer. I love being in front of the camera. I was a dancer for my entire life. And then cheered in the NFL, the NBA, then it turned into WWE. And that was my life. And to go from this one extreme to like traveling and getting my butt kicked almost like, I guess, 5 nights a week for years and years and years, to then just sitting at home, nowhere to go, like never leaving the house, even not even to just like, I never left my house. And to go from one extreme to the other has really gotten to a point now where it's really caught up to me. And talking with my therapist, it's like, how do I explain that to my husband? Because I feel like he thinks like he's busting his ass, and I'm grateful. I have a husband who's working and he's providing, and I don't have to do that right now. And I'm so, so, so grateful for that, truly, because it's really taken a lot of pressure off of me to have to figure out what my next step is, because I can be home with the kids. I can be present. I can try to figure out what it is that I want to do with my life and figure out who I am. But it's like, who am I if I'm not Carmella? Who am I if I'm not mom? Who am I if I don't have an income coming in? Like, my life has changed so drastically in 3 years, and it's scary. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, poor me, I can't just go buy a purse because I don't have the money. That's not the point. It's the identity shift of being able to buy whatever I want when I want, because I didn't have a family. I didn't have people to support. I was just like doing my own thing. I didn't have bills or, anything like responsibilities, because I was just living my life and traveling. So to go from that to then being married and then having 3 stepkids, and it's like slowly over the last couple of years, it's just slowly been more and more responsibility, more and more uh, sort of like everything's kind of getting turned upside down. And I am slowly trying to figure that out. But I think hearing my therapist say that the other day, like, wow, glossing over the fact that I no longer have my career, I no longer have my income, I no longer have my identity. Who am I? Like, I truly, it's been such a struggle. And I think so many moms can relate to that, because I just every day I'm just like, oh, it's fine. Like, everything's fine. And my kids are healthy, and like I should be happy and I should be grateful. Like, I wanted this life. I wanted to become a mom. And I am. I am so grateful. And it's also a lot. It's also a lot to try to figure out what I want to do with my life. It's not like I think sometimes with my sister, for example, she's a nurse, and if she were to move or change jobs, she could get a nursing job somewhere else. What else am I going to do with a career in wrestling? Like, I know there are a few other companies that I could technically go wrestle for, but that's not necessarily what I want to do anymore. So it's like, how do I transition that into this new life and this new role? And I don't know what it is. And I think it's okay to not know. Like, it's it is okay, but it doesn't mean it's not scary. It doesn't mean that I don't feel lost. And sometimes, like, I don't know who I am. And my husband constantly says, well, you're a mom. You're the best mom. You take such good care of our boys. They're thriving because of you. And it's like, yeah, that's great. They're thriving, but I'm like barely surviving. I'm barely like, I look at myself in the mirror and I don't even know who I am anymore, because it's like so much has changed in such a short period of time. And I think acknowledging it and knowing that it is okay is just like the first step of like, okay, it's fine. And I'm not going to have it all figured out. Like, I think back to when I first started with WWE, I didn't necessarily, that wasn't my plan. I didn't want to become a wrestler, but I did it and I made it and I thrived. And I know eventually I'll figure it all. I mean, I probably will never figure it all out. None of us have it all figured out, but I will figure out who I am when I'm not mom, when I'm not Carmella, when I'm not like being a wife, or like I'm excited for this chapter. And I think that's sort of where I'm at right now, trying to figure out who I am and knowing that it's not selfish to take time for myself, knowing that I'm probably not going to get it right the first couple tries, and that's okay. And even if I don't ever have like another career, it's just about figuring out who I am and what I like, what my hobbies are. Like, I don't even have hobbies, because I went from one extreme of traveling and not even having time for anything outside of my job. Is like when I came home, I would, sleep, do the laundry, pack, and then back on the road again. So I went right from that into being a mom. So I don't even know what I like to do. Like, someone asked me what my hobbies are, I'd be like, sleeping? I don't know. Like, playing with my kids. I watching Bravo, like, that's a hobby. I don't know. I don't even know what I like to do. Um, and I just am trying to figure it out. And that's what we're all trying to do, I guess. And if you're a mom and this sort of resonated with you, I'm hoping that there's other women out there that feel like this, because I know I can't be alone in it. And I do want to take a moment to let you know, if you are listening and any of this sort of resonated with you, I do have a community for women called Snatch. It's something that I have started throughout my pregnancies and postpartum. I did feel very lonely in all of it. So I made a community for women called Snatch, where we talk about all these things like sex, fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, and motherhood, because it can be hard and it can be lonely. And we have a private community where we can confide in other women and talk to experts. Like right now, we have a mental health expert in there. You can ask her any question. She gets back to you on the daily, to just have a resource and know that it's hard and it's okay that it's hard. So I'm just sharing all of this to say, like, again, the genesis of this podcast, living in the and, it can be hard being a mom, and you can have hard moments and, you know, identity struggles, and you can still love your kids and have it be amazing and the best job you've ever had. So I'm done crying and being emotional. I appreciate you guys listening and being here. And I'm hoping that by sharing this and being so vulnerable and open, that, one more mom out there, just one mom listening to this, feels seen and heard, and know, like, it's okay if you don't have it figured out. Like, we're all just trying to figure it out. Even if on Instagram it looks like our lives are perfect, nobody has it figured out.
You gotta get on my level.
You did it. Somewhere between the laundry and the meltdowns, you made time for another episode of Hot Mom Shit. If something today made you feel a little less alone, text it to the mom who could use the reminder too. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss a new episode, and come hang out with me at the Leah Vandale. Remember, babe, none of us have our shit together.